So I'm just gonna give a brief overview on all the mods for this car. And this might be a little bit long, but I feel like pictures don't exactly tell the whole story. It is what it is. But anyway, this build this time around, previously was on a 7875 turbo. Um, it's a good turbo. It was great for everything, but now that I'm ADE swapped, of course things change. So Brandon Furchess, big shout out to him. I mean, if it wasn't really for him, we'd still be fucking around the 65E transmission, and well, we know how that goes. You can only put so much power through it, but he's proven that you can put almost 800 wheel horsepower through a junkyard 4T80E with no issues. So anyways, so I went ahead and purchased a 80E from an Aurora. Um, I had Justin Nichols of Nichols Transmission, owner, build me an 80E with all of his parts and magic that he put in there. So I'm hoping for the best on that. There's no telling what you can put through these. We'll see how it goes. For the engine this time around, it's not like I needed it. It's not like the motor was actually hurt. But I went ahead and added in Wiseco boost pistons, and it's got H-beam rods from Texas Speed. Still on the stock crank, but everything was balanced and polished and reassembled. That's about the only thing that I had to outsource. It's still the stock displacement. I don't really believe in adding more displacement to a front-wheel drive car. Traction is already big enough of an issue as it is. So I kept with the 5.3, and everything else is just as it is. The heads are from PRC or Texas Speeds. Stage 2.5s with bigger valves. But everything else other than that, with the LJMS Stage 2 turbo cam, but otherwise than that, well, and then the 1.72 Texas Speed roller rockers, roller tip rockers. Not saying that the stocks are bad, but this works. So for the turbo kit that I fabbed up, I complete fabricated this. It's a LS4 front manifold, LS4 front manifold, and a truck rear that I modified to fit around and then come up the backside. You can kind of see back there. The wastegates on top. It is dual wastegates, dual turbo smarts to control the boost. It is a FI 480, so a 80 millimeter and 96 millimeter exhaust wheel through a 4-inch downpipe straight out the hood. You do have room with the ADE swaps to go out the back, which eventually I'll get to. The more I drive this car around and the more streetable I'll need it. But for right now, I just want to running and I want to run a good number. So for right now, this is the race pipe with my junkyard hood that I got. So this is going to be it for right now. I did delete the ABS this time around, so it is just a Willwood proportioning valve that's in. So that's going to work pretty well already. You can adjust the brake bias and do whatever you need to. It's a Holley high ram. It's a full fuel system, meaning that I am going straight to the rails, wide off, and then wide off to the back with a return, the air motive boost reference regulator. And so for the rest, it's just a standard Holley high ram with a Ls4 gold plate throttle body, and then my intercooler piping that just goes straight down through the intercooler and around to this other side right here. All V-banded, so it's really convenient and easy to take care of. As far as I know, I'm the only person who has a Griffin 2-row radiator. It's about 2 inches thick. It's a pretty beast radiator compared to the LS4 stock radiator. And I never had a overheating issue with this car ever. But I wanted to make sure that this, especially with the amount of horsepower that I plan on pushing through here, would actually be adequate to cool everything or keep everything manageable. So as for the rest of the build, I did convert over to a Holley Terminator X standalone engine management system. I didn't run in a piggyback configuration. Instead, what I did is I completely knocked that out of the equation and just ran the Holley to control the engine. The rest of the functions are all handled by the BCM in the car, so the air conditioning could still work if I had the AC condenser up here, but I didn't have time to fabricate it. As for the rest of it, though, the locks, the door locks, the windows, turn signals, all that crap goes through the BCM anyway, so it's all controlled. It's fine. So I look forward to having all that functionality, just minus the PCM. And the only reason I just want to be clear on my switch to the Holley in the first place was simply because I needed a better way to control the boost and spark when the higher numbers that you run. The E40 PCM in the 05 to 06 cars is great for most builds. It's just that when you start getting higher in the numbers, you want better control over your spark and fuel and individual cylinder corrections that you can make with this system was just a no-brainer for me, and the investment was worth it, right? So that's the reason why I went with the Terminator. You guys can do whatever you want. It's I would say it's unnecessary for like probably 95% of the builds out there, until you start getting high up in the power ranges. So don't get caught up on thinking you need an engine management system just because it looks cool. That's not the reason why I did it. There was a lot of thinking behind it, and that's eventually the conclusion I came into. As far as the rest of the stuff, the mounts, the Moroso pan, oil pan, that came from Purchase. I appreciate that guy for what he has done. He made a lot of this stuff easy, so I appreciate him. So he supplied me the mounts, and he worked with Moroso to get the oil pan. So a big shout out to him. I have a video already on the pan differences on the LS4s since I had all three of them, and it's definitely a good upgrade to have. I also have a crank scraper in there from Improved Racing, not necessarily needed, but again, just something I wanted to have because I want to have maximum amount of control of what's going around in the engine as possible, right? So I don't want oil slinging around everywhere. I want to keep good oil control, especially with these higher horsepower and builds. Overkill, sure, but it is what it is. I spend my money how I want. But that's about it for the build so far. As far as the fuel pump situation goes, I have a Walbro 525 pump out of a Hellcat for the in tank, and then I have the Holley controlling a external, the equivalent of another 525 inline that feeds back in to the main feed. It's all dash 8, so that feeds all the E85 up here. As for the injectors, I'm still running the Deca 80s right now, but I do have set 1500s. And I also have a set of 210s that I may or may not run. We'll see. So anyways, that about completes, well, minus all the fab work. Yeah, that's just some shit you just can't even explain. All the exhaust tubing is 2.25-inch stainless steel that I made V-bands for on the end of the factory cast manifolds, which are great flowing. The Ls4 is a really great piece. Can't really see down there, but I'll eventually do a build thread with all the pictures of the stuff because it's kind of nice to see. And for all you guys that are going to attempt building, it helps to have reference pictures of what other people have done. This took me a lot of time to engineer and get everything right. It definitely took a whole lot of waiting on random Amazon parts and random parts from other cars to make this work. I can't even begin to explain that part. It just is what it is. But yep, I think that's it. So if you guys got any questions, feel free to hit me up. No, I don't fabricate turbo kits professionally. That's I would definitely hit up Brandon Purchase for that. If you guys are gonna do that, he makes some better commercially viable product for you guys to have. So definitely hit him up if you want to have if you're looking to actually get serious about turboing your car the right way. I'm not going to necessarily speak ill of the other turbo kits on the market by name. It's just that in my mind, and from what I've seen, they are just not as efficient and work as well in the long run as these. You won't find a better cylinder balance. You won't really find a really good solution other than going with what Furchess has been doing. So definitely hit up Brandon Furchess. In other words, the Ls4 King. Simple Google search will lead you to it. So he will definitely be able to square you away if you were definitely serious about going turbo. But that's it. Thanks.